Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. I'm sorry that I haven't made an actual video in about a week or two, but I've been really busy trying to get a free-to-play account I made off the ground. I was originally rolling for Ball, but I got two 5 stars in the reroll I was doing. I got Jean on the Ball banner, and I got Kaching on the Noel banner. So that means I have guaranteed pity for a future 5 star. I'm really trying to get to Ball, but with like a week left, I would have to somehow whip up 50 pulls. And like I've been getting every single chest, like item map, every single chest, doing every single quest line. It's just time wise just likely not going to happen. I have like 50 more wishes before I can do that, and I'm like trying to pull together a 10 pull. But that's fine because like I like Ball a lot, but I got her on my main account, and I have some really neat ideas for Electro main character, and they fill a similar niche. Though, of course, Raiden Shogun does the pay to play version of it, and Electro MC does the free to play version. But that's a little off topic. Speaking of free to play, I was watching Enviosity's one of his most recent videos about the issues with weekly bosses, and some of the stuff he dressed, I would have put it more directly. I think that there's a very blatant issue with some of the drops and how it works, and I think that there's a growing problem that'll rear its ugly head more over time. So, essentially, what he talks about is the discount only applying to 3 out of the 5 if you're trying to do all 5, and he talks about the billets. So, ever since Ajtaha, you can get 3 discounts that will take it from 60 to 50, but now we have 5 weekly bosses. So it's getting progressively more and more expensive to do your bosses. And the answer is kind of nuanced in terms of what you do about it. It's either you do just the 3 discounted, or let's say you're not to that point where you've been farming Dvalin ever since release, like you can just sort of stop farming them. No, I mean, say my free to play account. I'm going to have to be farming all 5 for the different characters I get. So it's going to be really difficult to keep up. And the thing is that resin is such a precious resource. And weekly bosses, especially for how asinine their drops are a very important thing you need to do every single week, and it takes a lot of the wind out of your sails when it comes to your weekly goals. Something I'll talk about in a later video is I want to talk about making weekly goals because I think that makes the progress on your account much more obvious, but that's a different topic for a different video. There is going to come this point, maybe with one more weekly boss being added, where something with the resin is going to need to be done again. They either are going to need to raise the resin cap and lower the amount of time it takes to recharge resin, something that I think no one would complain about, or they need to add more discounts, or they think of some random other system that is not as straightforward and intuitive. But the more and more areas of the game we have, because remember, this game's planning on taking a number of years, like I think close to a decade. Can you think of the amount of weekly bosses we're going to have? We're going to have so many weekly bosses to do that it's going to take the full week's worth of resin to do them. Something's got to have to change. So, what it will be by that point in the future will probably be some third system in place to try and make it to where you can do the weekly bosses you need to. But that the thing is that that's going to be an issue that slowly appears over time. What will the answer for that be? I'm not exactly certain, but for the short term, we're progressively getting more and more that we have to spend our resin on, and that's not a bad thing, it's exciting. But when we've already had such a difficult issue with, like, what do you spend resin on? Well, it's only becoming a more and more scarce resource in comparison to the amount of things that you need to farm with it. So, I say that the resin cap for right now should go to 200. I think a full day's worth of resin giving you 5 condensed, like, it's intuitive, it makes sense. And I think that the recharge time for resin needs to be dropped. So it takes about 8 minutes for a singular resin to respawn as of right now. And I find that kind of really stringent because it takes 3 hours for you to be able to do a Morale line. And that's kind of crazy. Like, I understand that Genshin is a game where over the course of a couple months, yes, it feels like you're progressing slowly, but For a gacha game, you progress really fast in Genshin. Like, in comparison to like Summoner's War, my Summoner's War account was still dog shit, and I had been playing for a year, like non-stop, alright? And it wasn't a bad account, it was still in the early phases of an account. That's what we're talking about when we talk about gacha games. Like, they are expecting you to make a very long-term investment. So Genshin is pretty lenient in that way, but this issue's going to again rear its ugly head the further into more domains and especially more weekly bosses we get. So I think the most likely thing they do is they make there be more discounts for weekly bosses, but I would really like to see the resin go up and its recharge time go down. Now, the next thing he talked about was billets and a sort of shard system where if you get a shard from a weekly boss, it would be like a quarter of a billet, and you could do 4 weekly bosses and get a billet. And I think that is a good idea. I think that there are things that could potentially be considered before it, though, that essentially do the same thing, but again, more intuitively. One, I've talked to some of my friends about what if there was a billet pity system? Because the thing is like, I've been asking in my brain, would it be too powerful for free to play accounts to have R5 versions of the free to play weapons? And the answer's no. Alright? The majority of the weapons that you can get as a free to play are mediocre to aight. Alright? Really, the standout weapons you can craft is the prototype. What's the bow one called? The prototype Amber or something? I don't remember. That one's really good on characters like Ganyu, for example, if you have her. The Amanoma is awesome, and it gets so crazy good when it's refined. On my main account, I've managed an R4 Amanoma, and it by itself makes it to where I really don't need much energy recharge on my Ayaka. And the thing is that that's the only weapon that the free to plays have where it's like, yeah, like you really want to refine that. But the thing is that that's my personal taste. I just really like the Amanoma upon thinking it's a great weapon too. So, I made that investment, but in the same terms, like, what if I'm shooting myself in the foot because I don't get a single sword billet for 5 years, and there's another great sword that comes out and I can't make it, right? There's something really wrong with the billet drop rates. Like statistically, it says that the Dream Solvent is the lowest one, but it does not feel that way whatsoever. I have like 20 Dream Solvents, and I've probably gotten a total of 8 billets. There's something messed up with their drop rate. And I think if they're not going to simply do the most intuitive thing, which is just increase the drop rate to something reasonable where you're likely to get one in a week, make there be a billet pity system. All right? Would it still be annoying? Yes, because you could miss the billet you actually want for months. But it would be better than what we have. If there was a pity system, you can get a billet per week, and maybe you get a second one. Who knows? But just something, because the billet drop rates is abysmal, and none of the free to play weapons are that like standout. Like, all of them are inferior to other options that you pay for. So I don't understand what the issue is with being able to get them R5, because what makes the majority of the free-to-play weapons worse than their contenders is not the refinement levels, it's typically the effect themselves. So if that effect is stronger, yes, that's going to be great for free-to-plays, but that's not necessarily making the new energy recharge greatsword. An R5 version of that isn't really becoming any better than a Favonius greatsword, right? Like, a sacrificial, the Amanoma is not going to outperform the sac sword on like Xingqiu, right? So I think that the billet drop rate is extremely, extremely grimy as it is right now. I would also like to see this system. Like, I kind of don't like how you can only transfer the Dream Solvent from like one boss material within another of its own boss type. Now, maybe I'm being a bit picky, but the only reason my Ayaka on my main account is not triple crowned right now is because I've had to farm Ayaka Ajdaha for like I have to farm him for like 5 more weeks, and it's been abysmal. I've because I didn't have Ajdaha unlocked that long before I started farming for Ayaka, and Ayaka had already had her banner out, but it's just been so long, and I cannot make these any faster than, yes, minimum 2 months. Like, it sucks. But I mean, I understand why it works the way it does. Gacha games typically have pretty annoying systems to make things take longer, and this is certainly one of those. But it's still inconvenient. I don't like it too much. And the last thing I want to talk about was not addressed in Enviosity's video, but I do want to talk about it because I've thought about it for a long time. I've thought to myself, is this unbalanced? And I think it's up for debate, but I'd say no. I think that resin spent domains and weekly bosses should have a percent chance of dropping blue fates. And the reason is that no one is buying blue fates. If they are either very new and do not understand that they are fucking themselves over, or they misclicked on the buy option. I think that if you gave, say, the weekly bosses a guaranteed chance at a blue fate, and then or say like a 50% chance, like I have to remember that there's like 5 of them, and then you gave like artifact domains like a 20% chance of getting a blue fate. Like, it would allow you to upgrade your account perhaps too quickly. Maybe it would need to be a lower chance, but no one's buying blue fates. And as a free to play, like, you essentially run out of blues to pull on. Like, what, with the 4 that you get from the battle pass and then the 5 you get from the reset, like, you're doing like a 10 pull a month. That's abysmal. What, so you can get the sacrificial fragments? Wow, what a great upgrade to your account. I I think that it could just be a nice little thing to say, like, hey, I know our game's stingy, but we can still make it a little bit nicer for you if you're someone that just wants to pull on the blue banner or whatnot. Like, again, sort of similar to what I was saying about the free to play craftable weapons, is that there's really not a character on the blue banner that is really that crazy. Like, Jean is probably the best of the characters you can pull on that banner. Mona is the best if you're trying to do a cryo DPS like Ganyu or Ayaka. Diluc, I mean, if you want to run Diluc, you can. The issue is that Ling exists, and she's more free-to-play friendly and does more damage. And then you have Chi-Chi and Kaching, who aren't really in competition with anyone since neither one of them is doing something that other characters don't do better. So, really, and then you have the weapons. All the weapons don't stack up to the actual banners, in comparison. So, I mean, what's like 2 10 pulls a month hurt? Like, you get one a month. Like, again, that's just kind of stupid to me. But if it were around two, like, I mean, hey, that's more obvious progression on your account. I would really like to see that. And one last thing that I'd like to see for all domains, but I'll mention it here as well, is I think that there should be some kind of reward if you're, say, helping someone in co op and you do not have resin to spend, but you still help them get through it. It doesn't need to be a big reward, but it definitely doesn't it does not incentivize co-op when you literally get nothing for it. Yeah, it's out of the generosity of your own heart, but I mean, hey, even if it was foul, like, hey, you can go make some more sweet madams. I don't know. Giving something to the people who aren't spending resin. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be like 10,000 mora. I don't know. It doesn't have to be good. Not even that much, because like then the mora ley line, yada yada. But you get my point. Like, there should be a little bit of something for people that are helping with like child or Ajdaha, and they're not spending resin. I don't know. I think that'd be nice. Will it ever happen? Probably not. But I think that it would help incentivize people to do co-op, which I think people do because their characters are not that strong on their own, or their characters are too strong that limiting themselves to only one is about all the enjoyment they get from the game. So, yeah, I mean, that's about it from me. most of these were responses to the video I saw. The others were just things that I've really wanted to see for a long time. Let me guys know what you think. I'll be seeing you guys later. So before I head out, I do have other videos and commentary that I've recorded, but again, I've been trying to get this free-to-play account off the bench. So I will probably still release those videos just with enough time. So, yeah, expect that, but not too quickly. I'm trying to get this account to AR55 ASAP Rocky. You get me? All right, have a nice day, you guys.